Hey, what's up, beautiful people? It's Shower Guy, and this is Lauren and PJ Do Science. And man, the weirdest thing happened to me. I was, like out in the swamp just trying to commune with nature and have a good time. And all of a sudden, a bunch of lights started dancing around me. Like the sky lit up, man. It was really cool. And they just started dancing and swirling and twirling, and they started to move. So I felt like I should follow them. So I did. I kept following these lights as they danced. And it was so beautiful, man. And next thing you know, I was back home in my shower. Wasn't quite sure what happened, but crazy story, right? Anyway, Lauren and PJ Do Science. Here are your hosts, Lauren and PJ, and they're going to be talking about those same lights that I saw, known as Will O The Wisps.
Newton's laws, Darwin writes on nature flaws, Curie, radium, and X-ray beams, Einstein relativity, Watson, Crick, and DNA, black holes, Hawking, math, Copernicus redraws a path. Lauren and PJ do science. She's got a doctorate, he's got a beat in lyrics. Lauren and PJ do science. Yeah, he's a broke musician, and she's gonna teach him.
Yeah, thanks, Shower Guy. And, we're kind of glad you were able to get back. I wouldn't really go messing around with random lights in swamps and marshlands, but you know what? You do you. It's a free country. You have adult free will. And, yeah, do your thing, man. But yeah, here we are. Welcome to Lauren and PJ Do Science. Of course, my name is PJ, and on the other side of the internet is Dr. Lauren. Dr. Lauren, how are you doing on this fine, cold, frigid, freezing, miserable day?
Well, I've slipped and fallen on the ice more times than I would care to admit to.
Cool.
And I did get my car stranded on a patch of ice for a couple of days because I went out into the salt marsh, actually, to check out one of my field sites. And my confidence in my ability to drive down that road and then get back out again far exceeded the reality of the situation. So my brother, I called my brother to see if he could come and help me get out. And he's like, yep, I'll be there soon. And then I immediately, like within 5 minutes, get a text from my dad. Where are you stuck? So the rumor spread through the family pretty fast. So my dad and my brother and my niece came out, and we struggled for hours to try to get my car unstuck from the snow in the middle of the salt marsh. Ended up having to abandon it there until we could come back with my brother's friend's 4x4 to get it out. But my car is back, and nothing happened to it. I will never do that again.
So was it more like ice skating rink than salt marsh, or was it still fairly salty marshy?
Well, the whole road leading into the marsh is basically just this sand road. I can't even call it a dirt road. It's sand, and it was just covered by ice. And so my tires didn't have enough traction to not slide all over the road, so I kept sliding like off into the sides of the road, and the car was getting stuck on the sides of the road. And we like got it unstuck and then stuck again like 4 times before finally like it was getting too dark and too cold, and we just had to give up.
All right, so let me get this straight, right? You're driving down this road, you skid off at once, and you're like, you know what? This is a red flag, but I'm going to keep going. Drive down the road some more, skid off it again. This is another red flag, but I'm just going to keep going.
No.
Drive down the road some more.
So it was actually the inverse of that. I got the whole way there without a problem.
Okay.
I didn't run into any problems until I tried to turn around to leave.
Okay, I was gonna say, because like there was a joke about your dating history there, but okay, now it's a little bit better.
PJ,
don't need to make that joke. We're good. We're good.
No, I actually like slid most of the way there without getting. I never got stuck, actually. And in fact, when my dad and my brother got there, my dad kept saying, like, I have no idea how you got this far without getting stuck. And my response was, I have absolutely no idea. So I think it's really more an analogy of my professional life than my personal life.
Oh, that's fair.
I don't know how I got here.
So the big important question then is, how is the experiment?
So it ended up being a useless trip, unfortunately, but I did learn an important life lesson. So,
Well, you know what? It's about the journey sometimes.
yeah, it was kind of a fun experience to have 3 generations of family digging out a car. At one point, and this really like shows that certain traits are genetic. I was standing in the middle of the salt marsh trying to rescue my car. Mid-sentence, I look up and I see this huge bird of prey, and I pointed up and I said, "Hey, look at that!" And my dad and my brother both looked up and said, "Nice."
Yeah, I do that on the golf course all the time. I'll be like, dude, that's a cool falconer. That's a hawk. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. So
Well,
that was my week last week.
Yeah, I said, screw this. I'm going to go on a cruise to the Bahamas because it's going to be nice. It's going to be warm down there. It's going to be lovely. It's going to be, I'm going to sit out with, my bluey bathing suit on and a Hawaiian shirt. I'm going to have a boat drink in my hand. Everything's going to be great. So you were well familiar with my historically unfortunate luck, in many facets of my life. The good people who listen to our show, all 17 listeners, all
Hey
17
guys.
subscribers. Hi guys, may not be as familiar, but here's just an example of the luck that I experienced in my life. I go down, we take the boat down to the Bahamas, everything's good, going down there. It's like, all right, cool. It's 75 or so, leaving Miami, like, oh, this is great, this is gorgeous. Get down to the Bahamas. It is the coldest weather on record they have ever had in the Bahamas by the time we left.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was this we went on this little snorkeling boat, like this clear boat, and I just pictured a glass bottom boat. No, the whole thing was clear. Like, picture Wonder Woman's Invisijet, but they made it into a boat. It was really neat.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
that was cool. So we're going out, but the wind's blowing, of course, and it's freezing on the boat. But that's cool. And then they're like, all right, get in the water and go snorkeling. Okay. The guy from on the guy on the boat jumps in. He's like, oh yeah, I mean, it's not warm, but it's not cold. And I jump in. I'm like, bullshit. This is freezing. Like,
Woo.
it felt like a polar bear plunge. Like you jump in the water and it just takes your breath away. I couldn't breathe for about 30 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, and I'm swimming around and like this is cool, but the water is so choppy. Like, I just kept getting water in my face and in my mouth, and the water down in the Bahamas is like just disgustingly salty. Like, it is god awful. It's not like, I know it's Atlantic Ocean, but it's not like Atlantic Ocean Northeast where you swallow some salt water and you're like, ew.
Yeah,
No,
it's
this
the
was like,
Caribbean. Yeah.
yeah, you get like a mouthful and you want to throw up. Oh, it was so bad.
Mhm.
But I managed to stick my face under, and I saw a couple fish swimming around, a couple like blue tangs and things like that. It was really neat. On
That's
on a
cool.
calm, nice day, it would have been amazing. It would
Mm.
have been fantastic. And of course, on the way back, the wind's behind us, so that's not as bad. It's a little bit warmer on the way back, but the water was just so choppy, just every second, just getting hit with sea spray and more sea spray. So you're getting wetter and wetter as you get back to land. It was so bad. A lot of fun. I would 10 out of 10 recommend that excursion to anybody, going snorkeling down there. But oh my goodness. Yeah, so we get back on the boat, and the next day, the boat's supposed to go to the private island of Great Stirrup Cay. Great Stirrup Cay? Is that whatever Norwegian cruise line's private island is. We can't go to the private island. And here's why. One, 59 degrees outside. Again, some of the coldest weather they've ever experienced down in Bahamas. Like, it was getting down to the 30s at night, right?
Mhm.
Two, they had 13, 14, 15-foot swells, so they couldn't launch the little tender boats from the cruise ship out to the island because those are just like little dinghies, so you're gonna get
Wow.
thrown over on if you try to take that out. So couldn't even go to um the private island, which disappointing, but safety first. I can't be mad about that. It just is what it is. But I am 2 for 2 on cruises and having the trip to the private island canceled. So we spend a total of 2 days at sea. The whole boat's rocking like crazy. It's freezing outside. We get
Mhm.
back to Miami, and it's 40 degrees in Miami, Florida, United States. 40 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's you really
I know how to pick 'em, man.
what did you do in a past life?
I don't know. From all I know from my past life is I'm sure somewhere along the line my family was cursed. I'm pretty convinced that I was a pirate at some point. But what I've kind of gathered from experiences specifically in St. Augustine, Florida, is that I am always just like a dark cloud of gloom, specifically in St. Augustine, Florida. So, one, that leads me to believe I was probably a pirate, but two, I was probably a pretty crappy pirate because I just kept dying and respawning in St. Augustine and going to St. Augustine, dying again. Like,
Incredible stuff, dude.
uh, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's my fault for trying to get a deal on a cruise going during the winter.
I don't know. I've never been on a pleasure cruise. I've been on research cruises, but that's a very different experience.
Well, needless to say, when we have more followers than Mr. Beast, when we're the most successful podcast ever, and we launch the Lauren and PJ Do Science cruise, we're gonna do it in like June or July.
Oh, yeah.
We're
Well,
not doing. Oh, and speaking of themed cruises, it gets even better. We pull up, right, and we pull
mhm.
up to the cruise docks, and in the Bahamas, there's like 5 or 6 different ships cruise there. We see all these like metalheads getting off a boat. Turns out there's like a heavy metal cruise that was going on with one. I'm like, man, I'm missing a
Really?
good time over there. Yeah. And on the other side of us was like just a rock music cruise. I'm like, I am missing out.
So you just picked the wrong cruise. Was
I
the
just picked a
problem?
cruise with nothing going on.
That's a shame.
Oh, like on one hand, I could have been listening to metal. On the other hand, I could have just been listening to like rock music. I will say though,
Mhm.
we saw there was a show on the boat that we were on. There was a tribute to Rumors. It was like they played the entire Fleetwood Mac Rumors album all the way through, and
Mhm.
they talked about like all the drama that went on into making the album. Which, oh my god, we could. Does that count as science? Because we could probably do a podcast on that on Fleetwood Mac alone, like the science of Fleetwood Mac and the
Could we?
Rumors album. We probably
I
could.
mean,
I think it would count as science. You know what? We're part music podcast too, so we could
at this
technically do
point,
that.
yeah, we kind of are, aren't we?
We could do whatever we want.
Yeah,
We
I
have
mean,
the microphone. We have the power.
that's true.
But
That's true.
it
We're
was
we're like Adam Sandler in The Wedding Singer. I have a microphone and you don't. So you will
yeah,
listen to every
exactly.
damn word I have to say.
Exactly. But no, it was really good. Like it was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed every minute of that show. So it's and I looked on Reddit later and like a lot of people are saying it's the best show they have throughout the NCL lines. So that was a positive, and the dueling piano bars was fun. A lot of boat drinks entered my stomach, a lot of food entered my stomach, and
Mhm.
I'm finally getting over the mal de debarcation from the.
Yes.
But I slept so well, so I kind of want to invest our money from the show, like because right now we're making like thousands of dollars with the show right now. I just want all the
Right.
people to know we're making like
Oh
just
yeah.
thousands of dollars. We just have like a pile of cash sitting in my
Well, I'm
garage, and we
thinking
don't
about
know what
quitting
to
my
do with it.
job. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to do with, but the pile of cash that we have sitting in my garage that we've amassed from the show, I want to start a company that creates a bed on hydraulics that can like mimic the rolling of a cruise ship.
I will say that I've gotten some of the best sleep of my life on research cruises.
Oh
Even
man.
it's a smaller boat than a cruise, like a pleasure cruise ship. You get a lot more of that rocking from side to side, but there is something about it with the sloshing of the water against the side of the boat and being rocked back and forth. It's like being back in the amniotic fluid. You're just like,
Yeah.
ah, another lovely
Well,
day in the womb, you know?
Well, that's what you could do. You could put speakers in the bed, of course, because I
Mm.
mean it's on hydraulics, so obviously might as well throw some speakers in there that can
Mm-hmm.
play some just whoosh, whoosh, or white noise or whatever you want. Like there's
Mm.
YouTube channels that have just ambient noise and it's themed to like space travel, like just rockets. You're on a deep interstellar travel. Some of them are like themed to Star Trek. Some of them are just like generic space travel, and it's just like that noise of the engine.
Yeah, yeah. Because you would need
So you have that.
the ship's engine sound. You would need the water, um,
Yeah.
washing around. Yeah, it is. It's an unparalleled sleep experience.
Yeah. So that was my week. Frozen. Turns out it was a cruise to Alaska rather than a cruise to Bahamas, with no
Yeah.
northern lights either.
Well, you you at least you have a story,
Mm-hmm.
right? A
You
little
get what
something
you
to
pay
bring back
for.
home. Hmm.
You get what you pay for, and if you
Yeah,
wanted the cheapest cruise, you got to
yeah.
go at like the worst time of year. But still, here's the point of the whole story. Usually down in Florida, and I lived in Orlando for a couple years, and this time of year, it rarely, like, for maybe like a couple days, it would get below 70.
Right.
We'd be hovering around 60 for a couple days. Nothing terrible, but just lately, Florida in general has just had historically cold temperatures. Um, and that's just it's my luck, because global warming isn't real because you see how cold it is. Global warming's not real. But
Oh boy, we're gonna have to have a whole separate episode
oh, that
about
will
that.
be
But
the amount
probably
of times.
multiple episodes.
The amount of times I heard people on the ship saying, like, "Where's the global warming? This isn't global warming," and I'm just like, oh, ow, my head, and like
Weather is
the
not
urge to,
climate.
yeah, and the urge to try to sit there and try to explain to them, knowing that it would just go in one ear and out the other because they're those types of people. Um,
Mhm.
but like just the eye twitch. But anyway, that was my week. On to the topic at hand. Your first side quest
I
here
think
was
we better address this because like Shower Guy was just lost in the middle of a swamp. So we need to
yeah.
get back to the matter at hand for his sake, if for
I'm
no
more
no other reason.
curious. I'm more curious how he got stranded in the middle of the swamp.
Well, I mean, speaking as someone who was recently stranded in the middle of a marsh, which is basically just a swamp without trees, I get it. I
Yeah,
do.
but why is he in a swamp?
Well, I think that
He lives in a shower.
some things are not for us to know. PJ, I think
Yeah.
Shower Guy of all the people that we know is probably the most inscrutable. So maybe it's better not to ask.
Maybe we just write this up to the great mysteries of the universe and
Yeah.
not my failing creativity at the moment. Yeah, I'll just blame it on his wife, Conspiracy Karen. She started talking about where's the global warming, and he's just like, man, I need to go out in the swamp somewhere, just relax and reconnect with nature. There you go.
Maybe
There you
he
go.
went out
Job
into the
done.
swamp to look for the global warming.
Yes, there you go. That's the lore. Look at that. That's why he went out. I'm fine with that story.
Okay. Let's roll with it.
But yeah,
Thanks,
the
Karen.
the thing the thing that I'm pretty sure he followed back is something we teased in the last episode, and that is called the Will O The Wisp.
Mhm.
Now we're going to present two sides to you guys. We're going to present the folklore side, and we're going to present the possible scientific explanations for Will O The Wisp. And you are all well within your rights to decide which one you prefer, and if you think it's scientific or if you think it's a folklore creature, because that's folklore is very important, and some people have beliefs in not extracurricular, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Oh, I like extracurricular. Paranormal?
Extra paranormal. Yes, thank you. Paranormal activities, and if you do, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
The truth is out there, right?
Yes, the truth is out there somewhere. And who knows, it could be a combination of both where it is paranormal activity causing the scientific explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Will O The Wisp, it has been documented as far back as the 14th century, and I guess I should kind of explain what the Will O The Wisp is. It's these.
Yes.
I mean, everybody kind of has like their own description of it. Like some people call them jack-o'-lanterns, some people call them like fire. It's basically a glowing that you see in the swamp and or marshlands or anywhere where there's like a swampy, marshy, wetlandish kind of ground.
Hmm.
Um, and it glows. Like it's a glowing that you see in the air. It's a glowing that you can see down on the land. And some people say that this glowing has actually led them out of the swamp when they've been lost at night. Some people say that this glowing has actually like attacked them. Some people say that it's just glowing that sits there and dances and sings song and make noise and is kind of entertaining. But the important thing to take away on here is it's glowing. And some people follow it and they say they're misled. Some people follow it, like I said before, and they said that they're led to safety. It goes by a couple different names. In Latin, it's known as ignis fatuus. In French, it is feu follet. Let's see the French there. I can speak French totally. No.
Hmm.
Germany, it's called Irrlicht in Germany or Dwalicht in the Netherlands. And
Mhm.
in our homeland of Italy, it's Foca Fatuo.
That sounds like you're cussing someone out.
It really
But then
does.
again, a lot of
Foca
Italian.
Fatuo.
Poco fattua, yeah. Mhm.
But it's appeared basically all over the world. There's in Asia they called it the fireballs. The Chirbati and the Naga fireball are two big ones. I found a Japanese rendition of a Russian Will O The Wisp when I was looking up some information. There's a Chinese character that represents the
Mhm.
Will O The Wisp. It showed up in Slavic folklore, like basically every folklore you can think of. It has appeared in, and so everybody's seen this Will O The Wisp. Its first mention, as far as I could find, was in the 14th century by a Welsh poet named Dafydd ap Gwilym, um, and specifically it was 1340, and he referenced them as a canwyll gors, or a bog candle, or corpse candle. So that was the
Mm.
first. He described them as 100 wry-mouthed wisps over a hollow. So that's what he saw there.
Mhm.
1560s is that term when that term ignis fatuus appeared in English, and straight up translated, that is foolish fire that hurteth not.
Hmm.
So that's the English, but the Shakespeare used it in Henry IV to describe him as a ball of wildfire. So he directly referenced ignis fatuus in Henry IV. It also appeared in The Tempest as well. But the phrase "the Will O' the Wisp" didn't actually appear until the 1590s. And again, kind of literal translation of what it meant there was bundle of hay or straw used as a torch.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, and it's I also found a really cool article from the May 19th, 1881 Popular Science Monthly. And this is by Thomas Ferginger Thilston Dyer. And I wish I'd done some more research on him, but I didn't. But it goes back to a lot of Shakespearean things. Um, like, why in this wolfish gown should I stand here to beg of Hob and Dick that do appear their needless vouches? That's in Coriolanus, and it's used by the citizens of Rome there.
Hmm.
He talks about Jack of Thorns. He talks about travels in England, returning from Canterbury to Dover, where they saw many jack-o'-lanthorns, so that we were quite seized with horror and amazement. It appeared in Poor Richard's Almanac in 1777. It was called Peg a Lantern. That quote is, "I should indeed as soon expect that Peg a Lantern would direct me straightway home on misty night. As wandering stars, quite out of sight, Peg's dancing light does oft betray and lead her followers astray."
Hmm.
So, Tempest, like directly in the Tempest, um, Shakespeare said, "How will o' wisp misleads night gazing clowns o'er hills and sinking bogs and pathless downs."
Hmm.
So it's appeared everywhere. Like
Yeah,
Scotland, they call
all
it the
over the world.
Dankwill. Yeah, Dankwill in Scotland. Ireland, it's the Miscanmany. Folk legends of South Ireland call it the Spirit Horse. It's been called Fire Drake. Like it has tons of different names. Uh, Here's one where it said, "Last night I saw St. Elmo's stars with their glittering lanterns all at play on the tops of the masts and tips of the spars, and I knew we should have foul weather that day." And the big difference is he calls it Saint Elmo's stars, not to be confused with Saint Elmo's fire, which occurs
Which
on
is, that's a separate
ships.
thing. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like some people have referred to Will O The Wisp as elves, leprechaun, you know, you name it. Just about everybody has a story about the Will O The Wisp.
That's incredible. So it's all over the world and for hundreds, thousands of years, really. There's
Pretty
been these
much,
sightings.
because
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't really like it was first documented in 1340, but that doesn't mean anything because if you look into the scientific end of it, people would have seen it all the time. So it was probably documented even well before that. That's just like the first documentation of it I could find. But I mean, some people say it's a eerie phenomenon that's said to be dancing bones. It could be the hovering souls of dead children and ghost lights meant to confuse travelers. Fleeting flames seen above swamps and graveyards in dark of nights. I I mean, you can't really pinpoint one description of it because it is so broad as to what people have said Will O The Wisp is.
Right. And there's probably to some extent like it's sort of like calling like the dragons of East Asia and the dragons of Western Europe are two very different myths, but they're, you know, as human beings tend to do, we go like, oh, we have one of those, right? So it could be a different phenomenon that's just similar, but has a different cause.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the dragons in Elden Ring that fly upside down. Or not Elden Ring. Oh my god, I'm going to get murdered in the comments for that one. You know what? I'm not going to cut that out. I'm going to leave that in to shame myself.
Whoa, leave that in there.
Yeah, I'm going to... I said it.
It gets us more engagement.
Yeah, I said it. Boo. But yeah, and I did a show actually a couple months ago, back in October, where I referenced Will O The Wisp as my character, and I was a character called the Collector. And I basically said that I had walked into a swamp to do some exploring, looking for I was looking for a particular tree to document it. And the Collector was this guy, and I kind of played him as part Robert Ripley, part Grunkle Stan. Like a guy just in search of wonders, but he knows he's like this. Well, he's in search of like legitimate wonders, and he is a natural philosopher, so he's curious about a lot of things. But he also knows that the presentations he puts on are just complete and utterly just ridiculous and overblown in his head, and just designed to try to separate people from their money. Like they're way fantastical. Which, I mean, let's face it, in the time period, a lot of the natural philosophers did that, where they would find like a tree, but they would make up some weird story that goes around it to encapsulate people. And like, did you like that? Give me your money. So that's kind of where I got the part Robert Ripley, part Grunkle Stan from. But specifically, like what I was saying was like I was out in the woods looking for a rare white cedar. That was the tree I was looking for. And my compass started to spin like a dervish, and all around me, the sky started to glow, and these things started to dance about. And I reached out to grab one to study it, but it kept running away. It kept running away from me, running away from me. Now I've done a lot of experiments with gases, but this didn't behave like a normal gas. So I gave chase after it, and suddenly everything around me started to dance. These little firefly looking like creatures started to dance around me. So I took my bottle, swept it through the air, and I happened to grab one of them, but within seconds, everything vanished. So in this jar here, I promise you I have one. It's just, you can't see it. Because clearly what was in the jar was John Cena. But
right.
But you get the idea, though. Like that's kind of how a lot of the natural philosopher shows in the late 1800s kind of went. Well, I guess early 1800s. It was around 1832, I think the story took place. But again, he's describing the Will O The Wisp, and it was really cool that when we were doing the show, we had a couple folks come to like one of the previews, and one of the guys that came to the previews told us an interesting story about how, I want to say it might have been his grandfather, it might have been his uncle, I forget which family member, but they were in a swamp, and just as
I described earlier, they were lost. Like, it was dark. They couldn't find their way out. Like, they went in way too far. And they're like, well, this sucks. Guess we'll have to wait until daybreak, until they saw this mysterious glowing. And they said this mysterious glowing led them out of the swamp back to their cars.
Much like what happened to Shower Guy just recently.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know if he uses a teleportation device, or if it like, or if he drives. And if he drives, does the car have a shower? If he drives, is it like a self-driving car and there's a shower in the back like a Winnebago? Like, huh. Interesting. But anyway, yeah.
I thought we both just kind of went, I don't know.
But the general gist of, I mean, I know I said a lot of words there, but the general gist of the Will o' the Wisp is that it is some sort of glowing in the swamp, and this is what all the you'll find in common across all the folklore tales, is it's a mysterious glowing in the swamp that is said to sometimes hover. It is said to sometimes dance around. It can lead you out into safety, or it can mislead you deeper into the swamp to be eaten by, God only knows what, like Swamp Thing or the creature from the lagoon. Who knows? So they could be helpful. They could be like mischievous little fairies doing it. Nobody seems to know exactly what the Will o' the Wisp is. But there is a reasonable scientific explanation for the Will o' the Wisp. So,
Yes.
Dr. Lauren, I will turn it over to you for that.
Cool. So so there's actually a couple of possible explanations for the Will o' the Wisp.
Okay.
So, I mean, we talked about bioluminescence in the last episodes, and it's possible that things like fireflies or bioluminescent fungi, for example, in a marsh, could explain the Will o' the Wisp phenomenon. Fungi obviously don't dance around; they're in one spot. So I'm not sure.
They dance around.
Uh,
Fungi will dance around. You just need to take the right dose.
Right. Wow. Okay. Let me rephrase that. So, bioluminescent mushrooms tend to sit in one spot. So I'm not sure if like bioluminescence is a good explanation for. I mean, fireflies maybe, but I feel like we've known about fireflies for kind of a while. I don't see them getting conflated with this Will o' the Wisp phenomenon. It feels to me, it feels like it's probably a separate thing.
Yeah, because fireflies, I mean, you're not going to see, like, Will o' the Wisp is commonly described as the whole sky kind of illuminating. Not just like balls of light here and there.
Yeah, like little specks of light as fireflies. I don't know, just it seems like we've known what fireflies are for a really long time. I think most people would probably recognize a firefly when they saw one. They wouldn't be like, oh, it's a fairy light or something. They'd be like, that's a firefly, right? So I don't think that I don't like that explanation as much.
No, and the firefly, like, it blinks off and on, in a pattern, but Will o' the Wisp is sometimes said to, it doesn't so much blink as it just kind of stays in that luminescent state.
Right. So the foxfire phenomenon could be connected to bioluminescent fungi, right? That produce that luciferin reaction that we talked about a couple episodes back. But foxfires and Will o' the Wisps are not the same thing. Also, the fox in Foxfire doesn't have anything to do with foxes, the animal. It probably more likely comes from word faux in French, which means fake.
So it's not like the flaming fox of I think it's Chinese folklore.
Right, I think that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
So, so similar name like the Fool's Fire, Will o' the Wisp, Foxfire, Fake Fire, but they're maybe two different Two different phenomena. So I'm not crazy about the bioluminescence explanation. As cool as I think bioluminescence is, and this is how we got on this subject last time, because you had mentioned bioluminescence as an explanation for Will O The Wisp, and I said, no, I don't think it's that. It's something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, what could it be? So I think the most likely explanation, because it's so often seen in swamps, it has to do with the production of marsh gas, which are flammable. So, in marshy places, there's a lot of organic material, like decaying plant material, decaying grasses, decaying wood, and it's all building up at a very rapid rate and decaying very, very slowly. It piles up really fast so that the bottom layers don't really get any oxygen. So the decay is a very, very slow anaerobic process. There's no oxygen available to it. It's kind of like a compost pile, right? The very bottom of a compost pile, you have this very slow decay, turning all of this vegetable matter into compost and producing warmth and as heat, producing heat and producing gases. So it's the same thing basically in like these swamp settings or marsh settings, where you have a whole bunch of organic material from plants that grow and then die and then decay, and they're being slowly broken down by fungi, insects, other invertebrates, and bacteria and archaea, which is, sort of my bag. So lots of different things can be produced as a byproduct of this very slow oxygen-free decay. And that includes things like alcohols and hydrocarbon gases like methane. So I'm going to focus on methane a little bit here as the source of this, because methane is a very flammable gas. Natural gas, if you have a home that's heated by natural gas or you have a gas stove, most of that gas is methane gas. So it's a very simple hydrocarbon. It's one carbon and 4 hydrogens, and it's very flammable. And so methane is produced as a byproduct of decay by lots of different bacteria and archaea. It can also be produced just from carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas by certain archaea. So they don't even have to be breaking down organic stuff. They can just make it from carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas if they're available. Which some people think is probably, it could be a very, very ancient metabolic pathway. Other people say it's not so ancient, depends on who you ask. But because the components involved are so simple, and because carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas are available in so many different places in the solar system, some folks think that the microbes that do that are called methanogens, might be a good model for what life might look like on another planet if we were to find it. So these methanogens don't like oxygen. These other decaying bacteria that are breaking down organic material and turning that into methane, they generally don't like oxygen either. So they're going to be buried deep in the muck at the bottom of a swamp or a marsh where oxygen doesn't reach. And they're producing this methane gas. So the methane gas is very flammable. And there are other gases that are also produced in smaller amounts, called phosphine and diphosphane. And so these gases are really, really flammable. Like, if they come into contact with oxygen, they ignite. And if they were to ignite...
What makes them ignite? Is it just like... Is it a chemical process? Like,
Yes.
obviously it's a chemical process, but
Yeah,
Can you break that down a little bit more?
they just react very readily with oxygen. Some things do. Like if they come into contact with oxygen, they just explode. And it's because oxygen is highly reactive, and it has a tendency to pull electrons off of other things, other atoms. And so phosphine and diphosphane are just very susceptible to reacting with oxygen, and that reaction occurs so quickly that it just releases a huge amount of heat and light as fire. And so this
So is it
spark,
kind of like a static electricity almost reaction, I guess,
yeah,
because the oxygen's pulling stuff.
yeah. So just like I mean, some things just react that readily with oxygen. So when something is considered highly flammable, it's because it has that tendency to have that reaction with oxygen. Because that's really what something burning is a reaction with oxygen that produces heat and light. So most flammable things require like an input of a little bit of energy, a spark, right, to set them on fire. And then that fire is a continuous reaction with oxygen, producing the light and the heat that we associate with fire. For
So this stuff
phosphate,
like just requires like an atom or like an
yeah, it just
electron.
has
That's
to
it.
come into contact with the oxygen. It doesn't need anything else to
That's
do it.
insane. Like it just
Yeah.
pulls these tiny molecular things to it and just
Yep.
that's
And then
nuts. It's like a subatomic lighter.
yeah, exactly. So you only need a little bit of this phosphine or phosphine or diphosphane to come into contact with the air and spark, and then that spark would ignite the methane that's also present to create these little
So that
bursts
would
of
right. So that would cause like the constant glow, kind of like if you look at the I don't know, if you look at like the eternal flame in DC, right? Because that's like a
yeah,
constant feed of gas from the ground. It's kind of that same principle where all this decaying material is shooting this stuff up and it's reacting with the oxygen. So that would, I guess, that would kind of explain why it sort of hangs there and it lingers rather than flashes.
right. So it would burn for as long as there was something available to burn.
Right.
And then, when it runs out of fuel, it just goes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's probably the best possible explanation, is that you've got these gases produced by microbes breaking down organic matter. Two of those gases, the phosphine and the diphosphine, are very, very flammable. So if they do manage to seep up to the surface of the mud and come into contact with oxygen in the air, they spark, and then that causes the methane to catch on fire.
So the big question then, and
Mhm.
as you know, as a typical male, I eternally have the mind of a 10-year-old boy. Um,
Go for it.
is could this potentially just be like microbes lighting their farts on fire?
I mean, it is kind of, because like methane is being produced as a byproduct of metabolism, so it is kind of a microbial fart. However, you might be tempted to think, because if you go into a swamp or a marsh, usually you can smell the decay. It has kind of a
Mm-hmm.
rotten egg sort of smell to it, and you might think that's the methane, right? There's this popular misconception that methane smells bad. And methane actually doesn't have any odor at all. So if you have a gas leak in your house, you're not smelling the gas. You are smelling a compound. It's a sulfur-based compound that's been added to the gas so that you can detect a gas leak. Because otherwise you would never smell it. You would never know there was a
Right.
leak.
It's that rotten egg smell.
Right. So the rotten egg smell that you smell when someone turns on gas, like if you were to turn on the gas on your stove and it doesn't spark and you start smelling that, you're smelling an additive, something that's been added to the gas so that you can smell it, because otherwise it's odorless.
Right.
Yeah. So, what you're actually smelling in the swamp are sulfur compounds that are also produced by this decay process. There are microbes that take sulfate compounds and convert them to hydrogen sulfide, and they also live in areas where there's no oxygen available. So instead of respiring oxygen, they're respiring the sulfate and converting it to sulfide, and that's what you're smelling is the sulfide. That's that rotten egg smell.
Yeah, because I remember, like, and if you've listened to the show a couple times, we both grew up in like Jersey by the shore, like
Mm-hmm.
somewhere by the ocean, and that was kind of like how we knew we were back from a longer road trip, or even just going to the mainland. Is there were
Same.
certain times a year you would drive over the bridge and you would just be like, there's that
Yeah.
marshland. Like countless
Same.
field trips, and shout out to the Wetlands
Yeah.
Institute of Stone Harbor, because countless field trips there as a kid. But you would just have that smell, and I think for a lot of us, that smell is just kind of like ingrained in our head, almost as a
Mm-hmm.
comfort and as a positive. Like some people are like, ugh,
No,
but
it is
I
for
kind of feel
me.
like
Yeah.
it's like it's a comfort sort of thing, and that goes more into psychology and stuff. Being a child growing up around that, but it's kind of
No,
interesting that it's all how it
yeah.
kind of goes.
For me, like, it was because I grew up in South Jersey and in Atlantic County. And so for me, I went to school in North Jersey. I lived up around Rutgers for almost 10 years. Every time I drove home back to South Jersey, I knew I was home when I was driving over the bridge that crosses the Bass River and then the Mullica River. And I would roll the
Hmm.
windows down and smell the marsh, because you're basically just driving over this huge estuary. And particularly at low tide, you can really smell that sulfide smell. And it has become like this comfort smell for me. Is this the smell of the anaerobic respiration and decay?
It's like a
Yeah,
cozy, stinky
that's the
blanket.
sulfate reducers. That's not methane.
Yeah, it's a cozy, stinky blanket, but
Yeah,
that's
it is
also
cozy stinky
how
blanket.
that's also how the people will know that you're from Jersey, is that you call Rutgers North Jersey and not Central Jersey.
It's sorry. Okay. Look, not to draw the ire of the internet down upon me, but to me, like, pretty much anything north of Tom's River is North Jersey.
You
So,
know what it is? It's 76 is a cutoff. Like 76 that
mm,
goes all the way to Atlantic City. That's kind of gray area. But yeah, I'm in like that same, like you can draw a direct, or not 76, the Atlantic City Expressway.
no,
That's
I
kind of the
don't think it's the
line-ish.
expressway. I don't think it's the expressway,
No?
and I'll tell you why. Because the expressway goes through the Pine Barrens, and all of the Pine
Oh,
Barrens
that's
is
fair.
South.
Yeah. That's South Jersey. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
For
So yeah,
my
so I guess the cutoff
husband,
would be the Pine Barrens.
yeah, that's the cutoff. My husband and I, because he grew up in East Brunswick, we've settled on the compromise that the Northeast corridor is Central Jersey, and
Yeah, that's
just
fair.
the Northeast corridor. So that train line that goes from Trenton to New York City could be considered central. Everything below that is south. Everything above that is north. Period.
But there is no Central Jersey. It's strictly north and south. I'm sorry. That's what it is.
Unless you live along the Northeast corridor, because that
Yeah, well,
area
that's
is kind of its own weird thing culturally. Having lived there for as long as I did, I think
that's fair.
it's its own thing. So
I could buy into that.
you're originally from Philly.
Yeah, I'm originally from the Philly area, but I grew up in Avalon. So
Okay.
that's why like South Jersey is like very ingrained as, it is
Yes.
strictly North and South Jersey, and your cutoff is like Pine Barrens.
Right. Anything north of the Pine Barrens is you're not in South Jersey anymore. That's the
Right.
cutoff to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think the
And if
other
you
reason
put in the comments what you think is North Jersey and
yes,
South Jersey, and if you think there is a Central Jersey, we'd love to hear from you.
it also while we're throwing hands, it's pork roll, not Taylor ham.
I think we can all agree on that.
No, I have one friend who insists it is Taylor ham because he is from the one part of New Jersey that refers to it as Taylor ham. And
Well, the mistake there is you have a
refuses
friend
to
who
concede the
thinks it's
point.
Taylor ham. That's the
Yeah.
mistake. You need to
What are
correct
you
that.
gonna do? You know, I mean, you have to accept people as they are. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I do for the most part, but that's just it's just wrong.
I agree.
It's just
I
wrong.
agree. It's pork roll, baby. So,
Yeah.
okay, so back to the gas, because I do think there's one other reason why people assume that methane gas smells bad, and the one is because it's the gas in your house has something added to it to make it smell bad. And you know that's how you know there's going to be a leak.
Yeah.
The other is that a lot of people may be aware that when cows fart, they release methane gas to the atmosphere. So we associate methane with cow farts, but it's not the methane that makes the cow fart smell. It's just the fact that it's a fart. I mean, farts smell.
Well, and it's kind of the same process too, because I mean, and we're eventually going to do an episode about farts, but
We'll get
maybe
there.
once we hit 100 subscribers, we'll do a, or maybe
Yeah,
1,000. I think we should do 1,000 for the fart episode because that's very special. But like,
that's
it's
getting
sort of the
high, but
same,
yeah.
yeah. But it's sort of like the same process where it's still microbes like breaking down material in the
Yes.
stomach and then just
Yep.
releasing, the fart. It's kind of, I mean, I've heard, as kids, we were all like, "Oh, the marshes are farting today." Like it's almost the same thing.
Yeah, it's you. So a lot of your digestion is carried out by the bacteria, and in some cases, archaea. Some people have archaea in their guts. Not everybody does. Um, but the bacteria that live in your gastrointestinal tract are actually doing a lot of the work of digesting your food by breaking
Hmm.
down components of your food and helping you absorb the nutrients from your food. And if you've ever smelled a culture of E. coli, E. coli is a major player there. It smells like warm ass. Like there's a reason why farts and poop smell the way they do. It's because E. coli smells like that. And I don't
I'm
know.
gonna tell you, the thought has never once crossed my head to bury my nose in a big pile of E. coli.
Well, when I was an undergraduate, I had to grow E. coli a lot in the lab because in addition to being a really well characterized gastrointestinal microbe, you use it in the lab for a lot of different stuff because it's super easy to grow. So I was growing it all the time, and I became very familiar with the way E. coli cultures smell, and it is not a pleasant smell.
No, I try
Not a
to
big-
avoid E. coli.
yeah.
Like
Well,
if I see a dented can at a grocery store, I don't even take my chances. It could have been dropped, but I'm like, nope, that's full of E. coli.
I know. I think that that's a pretty good way to be because like while there's E. coli in your gut that help you digest your food and are otherwise harmless, there are also strains of E. coli that will absolutely give you a bad day. So
Yep,
totally
better
fair.
safe than sorry.
But
Uh-huh.
yeah, so cows do produce methane in their gas, and it's because they have archaea in their gastrointestinal systems these are the methanogens, the ancient methanogens that produce methane gas. And some human beings have them in their guts too. I think it's about half the human population, but nobody knows why some people
Is
have
that
them
why
and some
some
people
people can light their farts on fire and others can't?
don't. That could be. I don't know if you have to
Huh.
have methane in your fart to light it on fire. I would
We
presume
will
that you
research
do
that for the
'cause
fart episode.
yeah, now I because I don't know if there are other flammable gases apart from methane in farts. That's a
Oh,
good question.
we'll figure that out. We will get to the bottom of
Yeah,
that. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we will get
get to the bottom of it.
or once we just say, you know what, we're doing this. We're just
Oh,
doing this. We will get to the bottom of that.
yeah, we're gonna get to the bottom of
Yep.
that.
It's gonna
But
be the butt of all jokes.
yeah, I hope we don't make asses of ourselves.
No, no, I mean we'll pull it in on the rear end, but we'll be okay. I just hope that people don't think that we're bums for doing it.
You got me. You got me with
I
the
mean,
rear end.
I don't want to
Oh,
get behind the times on this, but
oh my god.
I mean,
Oh no.
if we'll do a good job, but there are some folks who might think we're booty for doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm.
Rump. We're both 12. We really
We
are
are.
both 12.
We are. You said it before I could. We are.
I did.
Um,
Anyway, back to swamp gases.
right. So, I mean, obviously, like there's lots of different byproducts of decay in the swamp, and there's lots of other really cool processes that occur in wetlands, and a swamp is not the same thing as a marsh, which is not the same thing as a fen, which is not the same thing as a bog. So I was
I
thinking,
was going to ask you that. Like, what kind of separates like marsh from swamp and swamp from wetlands and bogs and all that? Is it just like what's in it and what's decaying, or is it like
it's
bogs only exist in like England or whatever, or the
no,
UK, or
it's got a couple of different characteristics going on. And so I thought, since we're on the subject of swamps, that could be the second part of this episode would be,
ah,
let's talk about swamps in more general terms, not just the willow the stuff, but what goes on in a swamp or a marsh or a bog, wetlands in general. And why should care what goes on in these stinky, wet places of the world?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
It's a great segue.
thank you.
Brilliant. I
We did
love
it
it.
all by myself.
Um, yeah, look at that. Yeah, I guess that'll I mean, I don't know if you have anything more to say on the guests or what could cause the Will o' the Wisp. I mean, you know what? I'll let you present your final argument on why Will o' the Wisp is scientific phenomenon and not some sort of paranormal activity.
Well, I'll say this. This is just the most likely hypothesis. But even though, like, for example, I've done experiments, and actually George Washington did this experiment it was either the late 18th century or the early 19th century, where basically he proved that if you stir up the mud at the bottom of a pond where the mud is very thick and anoxic, and you stir that mud up, you'll release some gas from that mud that you can then light on fire, right? And you can replicate that experiment carefully, I hope, at home. And
Maybe I'll do that
there
for
was,
the YouTube channel.
yeah, why not? We just have to, wear protective clothing and not light ourselves on fire, right?
Boring.
Right. So there have been people who have tried to replicate the phenomenon in the lab and show that, like, yes, it's this reaction with phosphine and natural gas, but the resulting reaction doesn't necessarily look the way that people have reported the Will o' the Wisp looks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not certain if what we hypothesize is the source of the Will o' the Wisp actually occurs in nature the way that we think it might.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm at with it, where of it being more of an unexplained phenomenon, and it very well could be scientific. It could be paranormal, but one of the big things with scientific results in the scientific method is that the experiment has to be repeatable.
Right.
And it's not,
and that's tough.
you're not going to get the
because,
same
like,
result.
Yeah, so I can go out to a swamp and, because there's methane in the mud, I can light it with a match. But that's not the
Right.
same thing as it spontaneously combusting and creating dancing lights. And I can maybe create conditions similar to what happen in nature in the real world in my lab, but there could be things that I'm doing in the lab that create slightly different conditions than what's actually present in the real world, and so it may not actually apply. Like
Right.
you're
And this
creating an
could be simple
artificial
as like,
situation.
yeah, and it could be as simple as like you have a Glade plugin and that's kind of changing the chemistry of the air. Like it could be,
It could be any number of things. Anytime we try to replicate something in the lab that occurs in the real world, we're putting limitations on it. We're trying to control it as much as we possibly can in a way that it's not controlled in the real world. And so I would say that, like, while it's possible that everything that I've described is the source of this phenomenon, it hasn't actually been proven. It's just a possibility, and it could just as well be something totally different. A ghost, a fairy, I don't know. You name it.
Yeah, and
I'm
you bring
keeping
up
an open mind.
ghosts. Yeah,
Yeah.
you bring up ghosts, and that's kind of interesting because that goes back to I believe it was Sweden who described them as because you would see them in graveyards, and they would be ghosts like with lanterns trying to find their way to the afterlife or just kind of wandering the land.
Right.
And that's kind of where they got the name ghost candle or corpse candle from when describing the Will O The Wisp. And I guess in the graveyard, I mean, it's not always as swampy and boggy, but I mean,
Right.
it would kind of be the same process of breaking down decaying material, lighting it up.
I mean, I think that there's also a similar phenomenon that's been reported, or let me put it a different way. There's a similar myth of Arabic origins, and like, if you're seeing a light in the middle of the desert, that's a very different type of environment than,
Yeah.
a swamp. So I'm just saying, like, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there's things out there that we definitely can't explain. I know both you and I believe in that, where there are
Yes,
paranormal things that could possibly be around that couldn't
totally.
be explainable. And maybe Will O The Wisp isn't meant to be explained. Like maybe there is a perfectly good scientific explanation for it, but we're not meant to understand it. Like
Yeah,
it could just be something as simple as that. But which would make it more of a folklorish mystery kind of thing, which I just think that's fun.
yeah. Honestly, at the end of the day, I think that it's sort of like Death says in Terry Pratchett's novel Hogfather, right? Human beings need to have myths, they need to have stories, they need to have concepts like these, because it helps us to believe in things that we can't quantify or observe that are still important for us to have. Things like hope and justice and love, right? So it's what
Hmm.
makes us human, for sure.
Well, my biggest thing is if it was actually swamp gas, and if it was like, it would be more randomized, and I don't see it like quote leading people out of a swamp or leading people in a certain direction. Like I think it would just be
Right.
like, it kind of floats up and hovers where it is and then ignites and is gone. I don't really see it as being a constant light that would guide people in a certain direction.
Yeah, I agree. And I just,
So that's kind of where the paranormal leaks in for me because
yeah,
I mean it's like I guess you could say and this is kind of getting into even like I kind of believe in a little bit in Shintoism where everything has a spirit, everything is alive, everything has like almost like not that everything has a soul, but like everything kind of has a connection and everything, all the energies in the universe. And long story short, long story short, I mean, it could be all the different decaying matter coming together, like all the spirit of that coming together and igniting to lead these people out of the forest, or they could just be, playing a trick on somebody and leading somebody deeper into the swamp just to mess with them, depending on whether they deem that person good or bad. I mean, that could be the purpose of the Will of the Wisp too.
yeah,
So
there's
it's
certainly plenty of stories in that direction too, where somebody follows
yeah.
something and becomes lost. So I just think it's very interesting that this kind of a story is so widespread throughout human history, and it's one of those things that just, it feels really comforting, right? That we kind
Mhm.
of have this shared, um I don't know, I guess, like, what did Carl Jung refer to it as? Like the shared the collective subconscious, right? Like this
Yeah.
idea that deep down, all human beings, we share these stories and these ideas because of our shared humanity, because there's something that makes us distinctly human. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but I think it's a very comforting idea regardless.
Well, to that point, like what makes it even cooler is that it's global. You know, a
Right.
lot of folklore you'll see is kind of, I don't want to say it's like centered on a specific country because as you alluded to earlier, there's dragons in like European culture, there's dragons in Chinese culture, but like you don't see an American dragon. Like you don't see a dragon's like America got a bald eagle head. It's got a buffalo body. It's American dragon. Like you don't
No,
see
we
that.
we have different
But
cryptids.
yeah, we're gonna do an episode on that. I can't wait. That'll be
We
fun. I
should.
love it.
We should.
Oh, we totally are. Because folklore is a science, so that counts to me.
It is.
But
There's a whole like system of describing the different tropes that appear in folklore. Like they're named and
mhm.
cataloged, which is so cool to me.
Yeah, but with the Will the Wisp phenomenon, it's generally described as being the same thing. At least the description of it is pretty consistent globally. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be people seeing ghosts in a graveyard holding a lantern, whether people interpret them as just like mysterious light that appears, whether people see it as just like a dervish, for instance, like guiding them out of whatever swamp they're in. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
just limited to swamplands, like, they've seen them in marshes, they've seen them in bogs, they've seen them in wetlands, they've seen them in graveyards, they've seen them in deserts, like, that's a really interesting part that you can go across all these different biomes and all these different cultures, all these different countries, all these different times, but everyone kinda describes seeing a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, like, more points to the paranormal rather than scientific, and yes, there kind of is, like, your description as a base of scientific evidence, you know, you would pick that up in each of those biomes because that's constantly happening everywhere. Like it's happening in your backyard, microbes eating decaying material. Like there's a dead worm, there's microbes feasting on it and they're farting. And if you get enough
Yeah.
dead worms in your backyard, maybe like they all eat dead worms, they could fart and light up your backyard. That's possible. But the point is like it's consistent globally and you don't really see that across most folklore.
Mm. Yeah.
You
It's
know,
interesting.
like you have like the Yetis described as something different in Tibetan culture, but over here we have the abominable snowman, you know, and they're slightly different. Um the dragon thing, like that's what most people can picture because we've all seen paintings of British dragons, we've all seen paintings of Chinese dragons, like vastly different things, but you know, just kind of one consistent description. I don't know. I can't think of it happening too much.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's my final argument there.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that the jury is still out.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments because we would love to read them. If we get a couple of interesting ones, we'll read them on the channel here and respond to them. Or read them on the channel, read them on the show and respond to them. But I think it's time to
Yes.
get to the music part of the show. So we came up with a set list and we did a deep, very thoughtful dive, and we spent a lot of time, like 10 minutes, on this before the show,
Mhm.
trying to figure out songs. All right, here's what we came up with, and I don't remember who suggested who, so I'm not gonna give credit for
Oh,
it, and I might
just read it out.
yeah, and as we're going through when we release the show, we might put a couple more on there, but we got
Mhm.
Jumpin' Jack Flash, Rolling Stones. We got Born on the Bayou by CCR. There's Will O The Wisp by Pet Shop Boys. Life's a Gaffs by T-Rex. Jambalaya by Hank Williams, because who doesn't love some jambalaya? Swamp River
Mm.
Days, John Fogerty. Mississippi Delta, Tony Joe White. Swamp Music by Leonard Skinner. Methane Mountain by the Sand Spiders, which, you know, we got to get some punk up in here. Then, then we go with Leonard Cohen with Ballad of the Absent Mayor. And one I just thought of and added during the show, My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark by Fall Out Boy.
Oh.
All right, light them up, up, up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I like
yep,
it.
that's a good one.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you got any more song suggestions, put them in the comments because we'll gladly take them and put them into the playlist. But I've been writing the educational song for next week, so that'll be
I'm excited to
it's
hear
a
it.
good one. Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm putting I actually wrote a couple different versions of it, and I'm just trying to pick and choose which ones I want. Like I went really scientific with one of them. I went kind of you know just silly with one of them. So I'm gonna kind of pick and choose my favorite bits of each for it. So look forward to that on the next show. But um yeah, Lauren, I don't know if you have any closing comments or closing remarks as we end this lesson.
Methane's flammable and it doesn't stink.
Yes. Yeah. But if you smell something that stinks and is a gas, call the
the
local
gas company.
authorities. Don't
Yeah.
mess with it. Don't light a match.
Yeah.
Don't be like, gee, I want to see what this is, and light a match or a lighter. And
Yeah.
no, not a good idea.
Yeah, I have
Not a good
I have a
idea.
distant cousin who passed away that way, apparently. Long before I was born. Apparently they dropped their knife into a gas tank and lit a match to find it. Yeah.
Darwin Award.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, that was
Well,
not the brightest thing a member of my
yeah,
family has
interesting.
ever done.
Yeah. But all right. Well, with those final comments being said, thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and spread the word. I want to get more. We got to get to 1,000 followers so we can do our fart episode. I'm so very excited, being the immature fellow that I am, to do that.
Very exciting. Exciting stuff indeed.
But and Lauren, a little preview for next week. What are we talking about again?
We're going to talk more about wetlands and what their deal is and why they're actually really important.
All right, so there you go. What is the deal with the wetlands and why do we need them?
Yeah. Who cares?
We are so old. We are so old. What the hell?
We are.
Nobody knows who Jerry Seinfeld is.
Well, I don't think anybody
comedians in cars with coffee
with him anymore.
No, younger people know comedians in cars with coffee. Like, that was pretty successful on YouTube. But anyway, yeah. We'll see you guys soon. We're still working on getting the social media pages up and running, which is a me project, and I just haven't done it yet. I need to. Because it's just two of us running, and Lauren is off teaching and raising a family and, doing adult things, and I'm just playing video games with my free time. So
you know it.
It's kind of on me. Yep. So anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in. Don't forget to listen next week, and we will see you guys again. But as for now, enjoy your swamp gases. Try not to light yourselves on fire with methane, and we will see you next week. So yeah.
Alrighty.
Cheers. Say goodnight, Lauren.
Good night, Lauren.